Welcome back to Akiya Dreaming. In this week's video, I'm getting my office sorted out finally. I've been sitting on the ground in the kotatsu room for about 4 months now, and I've had enough. So I need to set myself up with a proper office. But to do that, I first have to build myself a desk and clear out an area of the house to use. So the mission for today is to change this room to this, and to change my work style from this to this. So let's get into it. So I'm gonna need to clean out this room. We originally used this as the bedroom, but it's summer at the moment and we're kind of sleeping in the tea room, which is something that you sort of do with these kominka, these traditional Japanese houses. You kind of just sleep where the season dictates. So I wanted the desk to be about 1.8 meters wide and about 80 centimeters deep, so I'm just measuring that now. Alright, now that I've got my measurements sorted out, I went down to Konan, the hardware store, and got myself some wood for the project. And I also bought these like trestle tables so I can build myself a bit of a workbench. So I'm going to be using just structural pine for the frame for the desk. And then I'm going to be using Japanese cedar or sugi for the legs. Now because this is structural pine, it doesn't look very nice, so I've bought this sugi to put over the structural pine to make it look nice as well. But I'm also going to be using sugi for the desktop. So first thing I wanted to do is just start getting these frames cut to size. So these will be the front and the back of the frame. This is going to support the desktop. So once I had those cut to size, it was then time to just quickly attach the fascia plates. I just needed to mark out where I was going to screw them. And then once I'd done that, screw some pilot holes for the screws. And then just give it a nice countersink, which just sinks the screw head into the wood, makes it look a little bit nicer. Also means I can sand it a lot easier after I've screwed the wood in. With the first one done, on to the second one, same process. It's such a peaceful place to work out here. You hear the birds and it's just really silent, but we do sometimes have some trouble with our neighbours. So a couple of monkeys had decided to have a territorial dispute up on the hillside.
The monkeys are having a fight.
After the riot was over, back to work. With the frame pieces all cut to size. And now the fun part. Woodworking is about 20% woodworking and 80% sanding. So as you can see, it's quite a nice place to work out here. The only problem is that it's sitting right out in the sun and it's really exposed. And so it gets really hot, particularly we're in the middle of summer. The temperatures at this time of year, they're in the mid to high 30s with humidity in the 80 to 90% range. So you'll see that I'm actually wearing a long sleeve shirt, and that's because it's so hot, not because it's cold. The heat is brutal. But this is the last one, well, at least for the 60 grit. Then I've got the 120, the 240 and the 400 to go. Yay! So I'm pretty thankful to be nearly done at this point, because I am a little bit tired of sanding, but I'm about 30% of the way through at this point. But hey, at least I'm nearly finished the first round. We're finished. Round 1, 60 grit, done. So as you can see, it's starting to look pretty good. Once you get a little bit of sanding done, you can see the grain sort of starting to come through. Alright, we're going round 2 at 120 grit. So with the marvels of modern technology, I don't have to make you sit through all of this. I can play it at 5,000 speed. But as you can see, I was doing this for a long time. You can actually see the shadows moving up the walls there. Round 2, done. So the grain's starting to pop now, which is really nice. It's a lovely looking wood. Looks a lot like a wood that I used to use a lot in Australia, and that was a wood called Australian white cypress. Cypress is actually a lot harder than sugi, but it looks really similar. Particularly if you have a look at it, you can see these kind of knots. One of the differences though is that sugi's got this heartwood, and as you look at the board you can see, depending on how they cut it, this heartwood sort of sticks out, which is really nice. The main reason I'm using sugi for this, however, is because we're in a really humid environment here, and sugi kind of resists a lot of the humidity, so it doesn't swell and change and things like that, but it's really, really soft, so that's the trade-off. Alright, time for round 3, 240 grit. Alright, round 3 done. It's looking really nice now. So now that I've got everything sanded and cut, I thought I'd just do a bit of a test fit. I'm not going to be attaching anything. All I'm doing is just checking to make sure that everything's nice and square and even. So it's all looking pretty good. There's a few little gaps there, but that may just be the movement of the plywood that I'm using as the bench. But I do need to square up a few little bits here and there. There's a few gaps. So I spent a little time squaring everything up and recutting some things and getting it all nice and straight and square. But then the heat really kicked in, which kind of drove me indoors. So I've had to start working in the hallway here. And by the way, you might notice that the floors are looking a bit different in this video. Well, I've got an upcoming video where I've actually replaced all the flooring. So that was a pretty long project. I haven't quite got all of the footage cut for that, but that's coming up soon. For this table, I'm just keeping it pretty simple because I really need this desk. I really need it badly. I've got to get back to work pretty soon and I'm running out of time. So I'm not really going with any fancy joinery or anything like that. Basically, I'm just putting brackets to hold the legs to the apron frame. So you can see here, because I'm working indoors in the hallway, I've got dogs running through and people running all over the place. Makes it a bit of a pain, but that's alright. So to support the brackets a little bit more, all I'm doing is just running some long screws through the frame into the legs, and that just keeps it from twisting. So a couple more days had gone by, it wasn't getting any cooler. And as I said, I need this desk, so I just had to get out into the heat and try and brave it. So at this point I'm just cutting the support for the frame. So these will keep the frame from moving, and they also give me an anchor point where I can attach the desktop. So the desktop I ended up using was another piece of sugi, which again is a little bit soft, but it's just ideal for these conditions. So I just put some brackets in there just to hold the supports in place. And then I just screwed some brackets straight into the bottom of the desktop and into the side of the frame. The other thing that I did was replace those silver screws with some black ones. I think they just look nicer. And it was on to measuring the legs. So I want this desk to be around about 900 mil high, or 90 centimeters high, which is quite high. But I want it to be a standing desk. So I'll have to get a higher chair for it, of course, but I want to be able to stand at the desk as well. I haven't done much on the desk for about a week. It's just been too hot. So yeah, I am finally able to do some work because I went down the corner and I got myself this gazebo here. So I'm now working in the shade, which is cool. The other thing that I did is I went and bought myself one of the, I've been looking at these for ages. I reckon this is one of the coolest inventions in Japan, quite frankly. You get these jackets here and they've got these fans in them, and so you turn them on and you'll see the jacket puff up, and it's just pushing cold air through. Absolutely fantastic, especially when you wear one of the more coolish, they call them, shirts, where it basically just wicks all the moisture away from your body, and these fans just cool you down. It's phenomenal. So it's really, really hot today, and I'm able to do some work because I'm in the shade and I've got a nice cool breeze flowing all the time. So I'm going to get to work and finish off this table. So I've just got a little bit left to do. I'm just going to give it a bit of a sand off and just finish it off, just get it nice and smooth. It's pretty much, the construction's all done now. So yeah, it's just a matter of now sanding it. I've got a bit to sand it up to about 240, then I'll take it to about 400 grit just for the finish, and then I'm going to apply just a pure beeswax finish to it. I'm not going to stain it, anything like that, because I like the look of the sugi, and to be honest, I need my desk and I don't have time to wait, you know, a week or two for the stain and the oil finish to kind of, you know, off gas, so to speak, and fully cure. Yeah, that's where we're at. Let's get to work. So I ended up coating the whole desk in this beeswax. So the idea is you put it on nice and thick, let it sit for a couple of minutes, and then wipe off the excess pretty quickly. But as you can see, I think it turned out pretty well. So while the desk was drying, I thought I'd get on to clearing out the office here. It's amazing the stuff you find on your office desk. There's a curtain sash on my office desk. But why? So this is supposed to be a kotatsu room. You've got that little element in the middle of the room there, and everyone kind of sits around that during winter, and you can have your dinner there, or, you know, just read a book or do whatever. So that's what it's supposed to be. Somehow it turned into a messy office over time. But that's looking pretty good now. So now the desk was ready to go. So just moving the desk into place here. Perfect fit for the space. And I got a nice view there. I also got this from, I think, Muji, which is like a homewares store in Japan. So this is a power case. You put all your power cords in there, and it's got, you know, airflow and things like that. And then this is like a little drawer thing that they sell. They're both about $30-40, and it also doubles as a monitor stand as well, which is really cool. These power boards are awesome. The cool thing is you can put the plug in any of these slots, any combination, so you can just put it where it fits. So now it's time to start setting up my office space. Finally. Always amazes me how many cables I end up with in my office setup. I also went and got this high chair, so that works really well. It's perfect height for this desk. So now that I finally have a workspace, let's have a look at some before and after shots. So that's it for this video. I hope you really enjoyed it. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. If you also want to subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell so you can be notified of new content as it appears on the channel. I'll see you next time. Cheers.